Welcome back, everyone. It's January 6th, 2025.
Hmm.
New year, new us, new news. Lots going on, as always.
Absolutely. Seems like we're picking up right where we left off last year. Plenty to unpack today.
Yeah, for sure. So, first up, a powerful earthquake hit Tibet.
Yeah, 7.1 magnitude
Wow.
in Shigatse.
Okay. And remind me,
That's a major religious center, and a lot of Mount Everest expeditions start there, too.
right. So, what's damage looking like?
Not good. At least 53 dead, 62 injured. Over 1,000 houses are damaged, and rescue efforts are already struggling because power and water are out.
It's freezing there, too, right?
Yeah, makes everything that much harder.
Definitely a race against time. Okay, well, speaking of shifts, Canada's political scene just had a big one. Trudeau is stepping down.
Yeah, after 9 years as leader of the Liberal Party. Bit of a surprise.
It is, even though the Liberals haven't been doing great in the polls.
Trudeau said there were some internal battles and admitted his popularity's taken a hit. And of course, this comes after the deputy PM, Chrystia Freeland, left too.
Yeah, lots of change happening up north. Makes you wonder who's going to lead the Liberals next and what they'll do to try and win the next election. All right, changing gears now, over to the West Bank. There are some serious tensions flaring up in Jenin.
Yeah, clashes between the Palestinian Authority and armed groups have been getting worse, and there's a lot of unrest.
Right. And what's the PA's take on all this?
Well, they're calling these groups outlaws and blaming them for instability. But a lot of people in Jenin actually see these groups as resistance fighters against the Israeli occupation.
I see.
And things got even worse when a journalism student, Shatta al-Sabah, was killed during the clashes.
Really volatile situation. Sounds
Yeah.
like the PA is trying to keep things under control, but there's a lot of anger among the Palestinians.
Exactly.
Okay, switching focus now to Ukraine. What's the latest in the conflict with Russia?
Well, Russia's claiming they've captured Kurakov.
Where's that?
It's a strategic town in the east, and if they hold it, it could give them a path towards Pokv, which is a major hub for Ukraine.
So a potential turning point.
Could be. Ukraine hasn't confirmed it's fallen yet, but the fighting there is intense.
Right. Okay. Well, amidst all this conflict, it's worth remembering that millions around the world celebrated Christmas yesterday.
That's right, Orthodox Christmas.
Yeah.
Big celebrations following the Julian calendar from Syria and Egypt to places like Russia and Serbia.
Beautiful. Always nice to see people coming together.
Definitely.
Okay, back in the U.S., Biden met with Edmundo Gonzalez.
The exiled Venezuelan opposition candidate, right?
Yeah. And in a pretty controversial move, Biden recognized him as the true winner of that messy 2024 election.
Predictably, this has ticked off the Maduro government. They've accused Biden of backing a violent anti-democratic movement.
Yeah, not going to help the U.S.-Venezuela relationship much, is it?
Doesn't look like it. Definitely want to keep an eye on.
Okay. Now for a slightly lighter story. Donald Trump Jr. is visiting Greenland.
Of all places.
Yeah. I guess this follows his dad's calls for the U.S. to own Greenland.
Exactly.
So is this an official trip?
No, officially it's private, not on behalf of the incoming administration or anything.
Uh-huh. But I bet people are reading into it anyway.
Of course. And Greenland's prime minister has already said the island's not for sale. So, could be a little awkward, to say the least.
Awkward indeed. Okay, well, on a more serious note, that winter storm's still causing chaos in the U.S.
It is. 5 deaths reported so far, schools closed, travel's a mess, and power's out in a lot of places.
Any signs of it letting up?
Not really. More heavy snow and ice expected.
Yeah.
Definitely not a good time to be on the roads.
For sure. Okay, switching gears again to North Korea. They say they've successfully tested a new hypersonic missile.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and they did this right when Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State, is visiting Seoul.
Seems deliberate. North Korea's claiming this new missile can contain rivals in the Pacific.
Hypersonic missiles, that's a whole other level of scary, isn't it?
Yeah, they're so much faster and more maneuverable than regular missiles, makes them really hard to stop. This could really change things for regional security.
Concerning, for sure. All right, well, while some countries are testing new weapons, others are trying to dial down the tension. 11 Yemeni detainees were transferred from Guantanamo Bay to Oman.
That's right.
Meaning
Guantanamo now has its lowest population ever. The U.S. is trying to close that place down, remember?
right, it's been controversial for years.
Yeah, people have been critical of detaining people without charges and the conditions there. So this transfer is part of that effort.
Okay. Now, moving on to the business world. The U.S. has put Tencent, the Chinese tech giant, on a list of companies that are supposedly working with China's military.
Big news. Tencent, they're behind WeChat, right?
Yeah.
Huge company.
Right.
They've denied the accusations, and of course Beijing's not happy about it either, calling it unreasonable suppression.
Right.
But this could mean sanctions from the U.S.
Another escalation in that trade war. Speaking of interesting business moves, Dana White, the UFC CEO, is joining Meta's board.
Wow, really? He's a big Trump supporter, isn't he?
Yeah, very vocal about it. And Meta seems to be trying to get in Trump's good graces before he takes office again.
Interesting strategy. Given White's personality, it's bound to shake things up at Meta.
Yeah, their approach to content moderation could get very interesting, for example. We'll have to see how it plays out. All right, back to the legal world. A New York judge has said no to Trump's request to delay his sentencing in that hush money case.
So it's still happening on Friday?
Yep. Despite all of Trump's appeals and challenges, this is pretty historic, isn't it? A former U.S. president convicted of a crime?
It is. And this whole hush money thing, it came from trying to cover up payments to an adult film star, right? By making them look like legal expenses?
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, Trump was found guilty on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records.
Wow.
Yeah, the sentencing is going to be a big deal, legally and politically.
No doubt.
Okay, now, Apple's been having some AI troubles.
Oh, yeah. What happened?
They're updating their AI news notification feature because there have been lots of complaints about it making up stuff.
Inaccurate summaries?
Yeah, like really inaccurate.
Yeah.
Apparently, it even got things wrong about, like, the BBC. Big news sources were complaining.
That's a problem.
Yeah, it even made up a story about someone shooting themselves when the real article was totally different.
Yikes.
Right. False information can spread so fast these days.
Absolutely.
So they're making it clearer when a notification is from the AI. Hopefully that helps. Even Apple's AI can mess up, it seems. Shows we still need humans to keep things in check.
For sure.
All right, on a more serious note, it's the 10th anniversary of the Charlie Hebdo attack today.
Oh, wow.
And they're releasing a special issue to mark the occasion.
Good for them.
They face so much criticism and threats, but they keep publishing. They won't be silenced.
That's courage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Really shows how important freedom of speech is and how important it is to stand up against extremism, even when it's hard.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, back to Canada for a sec. With Trudeau leaving, everyone's talking about his legacy. What do you think?
Mixed bag, really. People liked his progressive policies, like gender equality in his cabinet and how he handled COVID.
Right.
But then there were the ethics scandals and the economic problems.
Yeah.
It's tough being in charge.
It is. Okay, well, over in Ghana, John Mahama is back in power. He's president again.
Second time around.
Yeah. Voters are hoping he can fix the economy and tackle corruption.
Tall order. He needs to lower the cost of living, create jobs, and will actually keep his promises this time.
Right.
It's a tough job, especially with the economy the way it is.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, quick look at the tech world now. What are the experts predicting for 2025?
They say cryptocurrencies are going to become even more influential, and personalized AI is going to be a big thing, too.
Personalized AI. What's that?
Basically, AI that's tailored to you based on your preferences, like having a personal shopper, but for everything.
I see.
We're going to need more data centers and better chips to handle all this, though.
Always something, huh? Okay, last story for today. We've been hearing a lot about Vietnamese people migrating to the UK.
Yeah, a lot of them are risking dangerous journeys to get there.
And why is that?
Well, experts say it's about relative deprivation.
Which means?
It means that even though Vietnam's economy is doing better, a lot of people there still don't have many opportunities. The income gap between them and people in developed countries is still huge. So they want a better life, even if it means taking big risks.
So it's more than just escaping poverty. It's about wanting a fairer shot.
Exactly. It shows how unequal the world still is and how desperate some people are for a better future.
It's a really complex problem. We need to look deeper to understand what's driving this, you know?
Absolutely.
But before we get too deep into that, we've got one more story to cover.
Right. Yeah, we still haven't talked about that footage of the New Orleans attack suspect.
Yeah, that was a horrific thing. Driving a pickup truck straight into crowds on Bourbon Street on New Year's Eve.
Awful. What do we know about this guy? Well, from the CCTV footage they released, we know it was Shamsuddin Jabbar, U.S. Army vet. He was killed in a shootout with police after the attack.
Jeez. It just goes to show you never know what's going to happen, and you've got to stay vigilant.
You really do. So while we're talking about the law, let's go back to Trump's sentencing.
Right. Right, the hush money case. Didn't his lawyers try to get it postponed?
They did. They even tried to get the whole case dismissed, saying it was politically motivated and full of errors. They wanted a whole hearing with the appellate court.
And what did the judge say?
Judge Juan Merchan, he basically shut them down. Said their arguments were the same old stuff they'd brought up before. Sentencing still happening Friday as planned.
This is a big one, you know. The first U.S. president, former or otherwise, who's actually been convicted of a crime.
I know. In this case, it's about him trying to hide hush money payments, right? To that adult film star by making them look like legal fees.
Something like that, yeah. The thing is, he was found guilty on 34 felony counts. Falsifying business records.
It's a lot.
It is. So yeah, Friday is going to be a big day. Big for the legal world, big for the political world.
Big for everyone, probably.
Yeah. Speaking of things everyone's talking about, what's the latest with Apple's AI news thing?
Oh, those inaccurate summaries.
Yeah.
That caused quite a stir. The BBC even complained, right?
They did, and others too. They were saying the AI twisted the facts or just made stuff up entirely.
I heard there was one where the AI said someone shot themselves, but the real article was about something totally different.
Exactly. That's dangerous, you know? Misinformation spreads so easily, and Apple's platform is huge.
It undermines trust in the real news sources, creates a breeding ground for those conspiracy theories and fake news.
Scary stuff. So what's Apple doing about it?
They've said they're going to update the feature, and they've admitted there's a problem, which is a start.
What will the update do exactly?
Well, now it'll be super clear when a notification is a summary from the AI, so hopefully there won't be so much confusion, and people will be less likely to take it as fact.
Fingers crossed. AI's got a lot of potential, but when it comes to the news, we need accuracy. Humans still have a role to play in making sure that happens.
100%. Speaking of needing to be accurate and thoughtful, it's the 10th anniversary of the Charlie Hebdo attack.
A somber day, for sure, but important to remember. And they're putting out a special issue, keeping the satire alive.
Yeah, despite all the threats and the hatred they've faced since the attack, they've stood strong, haven't they? They won't be silenced.
It's pretty inspiring, actually. It reminds us we have to defend free speech, we have to stand up to extremism,
Yeah,
even when it's scary.
absolutely. They're showing us that satire can be a powerful tool, you know? It can challenge the way things are, and we can't let fear stop people from using it.
Okay, so back to Canada.
Yeah.
Now that Trudeau's out, how will he be remembered? What's his legacy?
It's complicated, right? He did a lot of good pushing for progressive policies, like that gender-balanced cabinet, for example, and people generally approved of how he handled COVID. But then there were the ethics scandals, and the economy hasn't been great. That definitely hurt him.
So his time in office is kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah, pretty much. It'll be interesting to see how historians look back on it.
Let's move over to Africa now. John Mahama's back as president of Ghana, and people have high hopes for him.
Second time around, voters are counting on him to improve the economy and get rid of corruption.
It's going to be a tough job, right?
Oh, definitely. He needs to get unemployment down, bring the cost of living down, and actually deliver on his promises this time. And the whole corruption thing is a major issue, so he's got to take that head on.
Being president is never easy, especially in a country facing those kinds of challenges.
No kidding. But hopefully his experience will help.
Fingers crossed. Okay, let's check in on the tech world. What are the experts saying about 2025?
Well, they think cryptocurrencies are going to become even more powerful. And personalized AI is supposed to be the next big thing.
Personalized AI, what does that even mean?
Imagine AI that knows you. It learns your preferences, what you like, what you need, like a super smart personal assistant that helps you with everything.
Wow, like a personal shopper, but for life.
Exactly. But all this fancy AI will need a lot of power. We'll need more data centers and better chips to keep up.
Technology never stops, does it? Okay, let's talk about something that's been in the news a lot. Vietnamese migration to the UK.
Yeah, it's a dangerous journey, but more and more people are trying to make it.
We talked about this earlier, but I'm still not clear on why. Why are they risking so much?
It comes down to relative deprivation. Vietnam's doing better economically, but there's still a huge gap between what people there earn and what people in developed countries earn, and there aren't the same opportunities.
So it's not just about escaping poverty. It's about wanting a fair chance in life.
Exactly. They're leaving because they feel stuck. They see a better future for themselves elsewhere. It really highlights the inequality that still exists in the world.
It's a complicated issue, for sure.
Yeah.
We need to understand the root causes if we want to find real solutions.
We do. Simple solutions won't work for a complex problem like this.
Well said.
Oh.
Okay, one last thing before we move on. We need to talk more about those potential successors to Justin Trudeau.
Right. Let's break it down. Who are these folks looking to take the reins?
Okay, so who's the front runner? Anyone stand out in this liberal leadership race?
Tough to say. There's a good mix of contenders, each with their own pros and cons. Starting with Chrystia Freeland, former deputy PM.
She seems like the obvious choice. What's her story?
She was a big part of Trudeau's cabinet, really smart, great communicator. Some think she's the safe option, someone to keep things running the way Trudeau did.
Makes sense.
Uh.
Who else is in the running?
Well, there's Mark Carney. He ran the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England, actually.
Wow. So he's got that economics expertise.
Which could be a good look, given how the economy's been.
Yeah, for sure. What about people already in the government? Any ministers thinking of running?
Could be. Anita Anand's name has been floated. She's been in charge of some important stuff, known for getting things done.
Okay. Anyone else?
Oh, yeah, Francois-Philippe Champagne. He's got that business background and experience with trade deals and all that.
Interesting. Aside from Freeland, are any other women in the running?
Melanie Joly. She's our current foreign minister. She's got that diplomatic touch, those international connections. Could be a good look for her.
Definitely. Anyone from Trudeau's inner circle?
Dominic LeBlanc. He and Trudeau go way back. He's a real political insider, knows how the party works. That could be a big advantage for him.
Interesting. So lots of folks from within the party, anyone from outside the government, throwing their hat in the ring.
There is. Christy Clark. She used to be a premier, but at the provincial level, she could bring a different perspective, appeal to voters who want something new.
Wow, so many potential leaders. Who do you think will win?
Too close to call. They all have their strengths. It really depends on who connects with voters and what they want to see for the future.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. The Liberal Party's choice will have a big impact on Canada's direction.
No doubt. It's a real turning point for them. They need to look at what worked, what didn't, and figure out what they stand for going forward.
Big decisions ahead. Well, on that note, I think we've covered just about everything for today. Earthquakes, politics, conflict, technology. The world never slows down, does it?
Never a dull moment.
Nope. But that's why we're here, to help you make sense of it all.
Keep you informed.
Exactly. So stay curious, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow with more news from around the world. Thanks for listening.
See you then.